It was Christmas Eve at the poorhouse, and the Yule logs were all ablaze, while the wretched inmate shivered, thinking of other days. Outside, the snow beat madly against the window pane, and inside it was mighty lonesome. Christmas had come again. Sitting apart from the others, watching the falling snow, his blue eyes wide and haunting, sat poor little Orphan Joe. He was only a tiny fellow, not more than 6 years old, yet his childish lips trembled with a burden of sorrows untold. It was the little boy's first Christmas without a mother's love, so there was no one to tell him stories of angels that watched down from above, no one to caress his pillow or tuck him in warm and tight, no one to sit beside him or kiss him a fond good night. Love is unknown at the poorhouse. All have known sorrow and woe, so there's no one to pity the sadness of poor little Orphan Joe. But Santa would soon be coming, for tomorrow was Christmas Day, and he'd pity the poor little fellow whose mother had gone away. He'd bring some beautiful presents like those of the year before, and after his long, long heartache, little Joe would be glad once more. But would Santa come to the poorhouse? And the little one's heart stood still, and he thought of the poor keeper's children whose stocking Santa would fill. Their fire would sparkle brightly. Their room would be nice and warm. Why, his stocking could hang with theirs. Surely there'd be no harm. So he took off his ragged stocking. It was faded and worn and old. And he crept down the darkened hallway, his bare toes numb with the cold. He paused in the open doorway, from where came a welcome glow, and it looked like a glimpse of heaven to poor little Orphan Joe. Then the poorhouse mother hovered above him, her mouth twisted with an angry frown, as little Joe paused on the threshold with his timid eyes cast down. "Well, what do you want?" she asked him, and when he'd made his request, she harshly laughed and answered, "Well, who would have ever guessed? You'll have to go back where you came from, back where your stocking hung last year. Santa'll go there, I reckon. He'll never look for you here." She spoke in a careless fashion, not heeding the pained surprise, nor the look of disappointment in the tear-filled childish eyes. She shut the door abruptly and told him to run away. "There's trouble enough without you." That's what she'd always say. So he turned away, slowly, sadly, and walked to the entrance door, where the snow lay heaped on the doorstep, and the wind swept by with a roar. And he thought of the words she'd spoken, and whispered that he must go, back where Santa was waiting for the coming of little Joe. His mother, too, might be waiting. She might have come at last. Little Joe's face was glowing, and his heart beat loud and fast. It was out into the night he bravely stepped and struggled on and on, with a courage that never wavered, though his strength was nearly gone. Within him something pulsed, awakening his faltering steps to guide. And there, the next morning, they found him, in the house where his mother had died. He had hung his tiny stocking above the cold hearthstone, and there he'd waited and watched in the desolate room, alone, with an eager, hopeful expression, his little face all aglow, his blue eyes full of pleading. He stood, poor little Orphan Joe. At last he cried, "Mommy, I missed you so. I knew that someday you'd come back for little Joe." Kind hands raised him gently, but the end was drawing near, and the words for which he'd hungered fell on heedless ears. Too late came the pity denied him. The tears fell thick and fast. He needed no earthly comfort. Little Joe was going home at last. so safe from this world of sorrow, too bitter for him to know. The angels tenderly lifted the spirit of little Orphan Joe.